Hello and welcome back to the GorillaBiker, and we're on the way home. Well, I'm on the way home. I don't know, you're probably at home or on the toilet. Let me know which one. But where I am going is home. And today what we're going to be talking about is the V-Strom. I get messages on this bike actually quite a lot. People asking me, am I still as enamored with it, I suppose is a good word for it. And why I like it so much and whatnot, because I do really love this bike. We're going to be talking about that, and we're going to be talking about why I think people might be a little surprised about it. We're going to try not eat shit here now because it's all sandy. But yeah, this is I've not been home this road before. I knew I could get home this way, so let's see, is it nice? But yeah, I mean, why do I like this bike so much? I think it's a combination of multiple things, and I will be doing like a long-term review on this bike soon. I think I have like a bit over 15,000 miles on it. I've done a valve clearance, I've done chain and sprockets, I've done oils, spark plugs, all the kind of big ticket items I have taken care of while it has been in my possession. So I think it's a pretty good time to kind of give my thoughts on it. So that's what we're going to be doing. But yeah, I mean, why have I liked it so much? I think it's number one, I think you build like, and not that I think obviously everyone should think as I do. A lot of people laugh at me for giving bikes names and different vehicles and machines, assigning them kind of personalities. But in my experience, and my experience in my working life, which is all I have worked with machines and whatnot, and it's funny because only today I was talking to one of my friends, Ben, about this very subject, and why certain machines seem to have personalities or whatever. And it is entirely to do with the fact that machines currently, even if they're built on an automated line and whatnot, they're still, originally by people. Like the program is written by people. The final touches, the coding, everything else is done by people. So machines really do have personalities. The personality of, was the person having a bad day? Was the person having a good day? All this stuff kind of plays into what makes a particular machine a particular machine. And, why you have differences in build quality throughout the day, throughout the week. Maybe the die of the machine was slightly more worn, maybe it was slightly less worn. All this stuff kind of plays into how a machine has a personality. But also I feel it's like how you bond with it in a weird way, and I think that's a big thing that has had an effect on my feelings towards this bike. Is this bike has taken me on some of the best trips I've been on in my life. I've done the Tail of the Dragon on this, I've done the Cherahalla Skyway, I've done the Blue Ridge Parkway, I've been around West Virginia twice, areas in West Virginia twice. This bike really has carried me, Shenandoah, Williamsburg, those chunks of Virginia we went to. I went over towards the beach several times. I'm not really a beach person, so I always kind of forget that I can aim for the beach. I tend not to go towards it. I've never really been a beach person. I like to go, like if I was near cliffs, like in Ireland, I'll go and watch the sea. I enjoy that. And jumping from a moderate height into seawater. But however, we're getting off topic. No, for me it's 100% how you bond with a vehicle. Like, you can have a really good experience with a vehicle, you can have a really bad experience with a vehicle. And I think the thing that attracts me to the V-Strom, I get it on comments that I seem like a pretty mild-tempered person. I think I can be fun to be around, though, you know what I'm saying? But I think the V-Strom to me is, and not that I'm comparing it to myself, it's just funny that it comes up so much. But the V-Strom to me is a mild-tempered bike. It's just a bike that'll, it'll go with the flow. It's not particularly fast, but it can be quick when it needs to be. It can carry everything I need to carry for trips while not being too heavy. You know, it has plenty, it can store plenty of fuel. It has pretty good fuel economy. It's good in wet weather, it's good in dry weather. It's pretty fun when I want it to be fun. It's very comfortable when I want it to be comfortable. It's one of those things that it's like you appreciate it more the more time you spend with it. And that is honestly one of the largest reasons I personally love this bike, is the more time I spend with it, the more I come to appreciate that Suzuki, when they made this particular V-Strom, just made a really good all-round daily bike. It's not particularly beautiful, however, weirdly enough, I do really enjoy looking at it. So, you know, that whole look back thing, you know, if you don't look back at your vehicle, you bought the wrong one, definitely does not apply here. It's odd that it's continuously growing on me from how it looks sense. It's genuinely funny, unexpected. You know, I think it's just a really good bike, and I think that's often missing, you know, these days in the modern world, is people chase the newest, flashiest thing without really taking a step back and thinking about what they want. And, you know, I think a lot of people that I speak to, because I'm lucky enough in that these videos have brought me, you know, community of people who message me on Instagram. And actually, first off, I'd like to apologize. I have been pretty terrible at replying on Instagram lately. No real excuse, I've just been busy. You know, one thing that comes up a lot is, you know, people are like, how did you land on a bike that you stick with? And I think this is another thing, it's a perception thing. I've never actually kept a bike that long, except the FZ6. I had the Phaser and I had the Magna, and I was a very happy man with both of those. Yeah, so a lot of people ask me, like, how did I land on it? And number one, I think, first off, I really kind of didn't. I think, you know, I think the perception is I have kept bikes a lot longer than in reality, you know, what I have. I've had this bike, what, a year and a half? A bit over a year and a half. And it just feels like it's been around forever, and that's largely due to videos and whatnot. I've had the Z900RS for a little over a year. I bought that June 23. I think what a lot of people have fallen into the trap of, and I don't blame people, by the way, who make social media videos like this, because they, you know, they're chasing the big views all the time. But you'll see, you know, people buying the newest bike all the time with the fanciest whiz bangs and whatnot, and, you know, then they'll make all of the upgrades that they possibly can, and then they'll sell it, you know, 6 months to a year later. And I really do think that's where the perception that I keep my bikes a long time partially comes from, is because obviously I am visible online, and people compare me to other. What are you doing? Are you turning? If you turn, I swear to. How hard would it have been to indicate? But you know, I think that's where some of that perception comes from, that I don't change bikes very often. It's just because of how often people are changing bikes online, and that's, you know, that's something that kind of concerns me a little bit. For, you know, some people really chase those trends, and they feel like they need to buy a new bike every year or two. And you know, some people do want to buy a new bike every year or two. Actually, a very good example, now that it pops into my head, is my friend Hippodrones. You know, he is always chopping and changing his bikes, and that's because he absolutely loves doing it. And, you know, his love of changing bikes and trying new bikes all the time really does come across in his videos. And he is someone who is super genuine about it, because he's very clearly not doing it because he has 1 million subscribers or anything. He doesn't have 1 million subscribers. He is just a regular bike person who absolutely loves bikes, and has the ability to you know, chop and change his bikes when he wants to. For the most part, I'm sure there's obviously limits to what Pete can do as well, but you know what my point is you know, he is someone who does chop and change his bikes more often than I would say the average bear, and more power to him. Whereas, you know, a lot of the other channels that, you know, people are kind of comparing themselves to, they chop and change because that's what they have to do to stay on top of their game from a views perspective, you know. And it's actually really nice. I see a lot of people doing CF Motos. Now, whether or not the CF Motos are sponsored or whatever else, that's irrelevant to me, because what I really like about that is, I think the CF Motos, the more people make them look like an attractive option, the more of an attractive option they will be to people. And the more of an attractive option they are to people, the more people will buy them. And the more people will buy them, I think that's going to be a really good thing, because not only does it save people money up front, because they're not an overly expensive bike, but they still have lots of nice tech on them, and by all means they're good bikes. And you know, that's something that I'm personally quite happy to see. I mean, I think it's really good. I think it's really, really cool, you know, to see people buying those vehicles. And I really hope CF Moto are reliable enough that those relatively cheap vehicles then get filtered into the used marketplace and make more bikes even more affordable for more people starting out. But yeah, I do think that's a large part of the reason, in my opinion, that the people I talk to who are kind of end up unhappy with their bike purchases, it's a lot to do with that, you know, chasing the next big fancy thing, chasing the next tech. You know, that they really don't need. Having the fanciest, newest tech on your bike won't make you happy. Having the most expensive Ducati, that might make you happy actually, yeah, I'll take that one back. Having the most expensive fancy Ducati might make you happy for a little bit at least. But in the long run, what's going to make you happy is riding your bike, in my opinion, you know. And the bike that, and again, this is just my opinion, this is not aimed at anyone, this is literally just how I live my life. The bike that will make you the happiest is, number one, the bike that you can afford up front, and the bike that you can actually afford to ride and keep on the road. You know, and the thing about that particular statement is that's going to be different for everyone, right? Because that's going to really depend on your level of mechanical ability for yourself, and or your disposable income to pay someone who does have the ability to maintain your brand new Ducati, if that's, you know, what you really want. The thing that makes people enjoy their bikes is if they get to bond with their bike, and the only way you bond with your bike is by riding it, is by going on trips, is by doing track days if that's what you want to do. You know, personally, I also need to actually work on my own bike. The more I work on my own bike, the more I trust it. And you know, I've been lucky enough that I could do all the trips on this bike, which obviously, like I said, for me did help. You know, that obviously helps me bond to a bike. And part of that is, you know, I trust this bike quite a lot. Which is something, I think, the more I trust the bike, and that trust only comes with, for me, time spent on said bike, the more I enjoy it, because just the more I know it, you know what I mean? Every bike behaves slightly differently, whether it be tire size, frame geometry, suspension geometry, ergonomics, you know, how wide are your bars, the weight of your bar ends, how your throttle reacts. Every single little thing like that has an effect on how a bike handles and feels, and all those little bits and pieces, you know, really, really affect how you end up actually feeling that bike. You can really, really, really enjoy a bike more the more you know the limits of braking and accelerating, and you know how the bike's gonna feel even when you come to a standstill. And none of that stuff comes from the latest and greatest technology on a bike. And like I say, I've said in multiple videos, I am not a Luddite. I am not against technology on bikes or in cars or in any way, shape or form, really. I like technology, but I don't think that's what will actually bring you enjoyment and happiness with your bike. I think what will bring you enjoyment and happiness with your bike is being able to afford it, being able to maintain it, and being able to ride it. For me, those are the three things. You know, if I was to really go out and chase the bikes that I really want, like I really want an Aprilia RS V4 factory, I really want an Aprilia Tuono V4 factory, I would love to go find myself an older VF4 with the VTEC, or the 1200 as well. I would love a bigger Triumph Tiger. I really enjoyed that bike when I rode it. An S1000XR, an S1000RR, an M1000XR. Just in that sentence alone, that is well over 100 grand of motorcycles, probably 200 grand of motorcycles, to be honest. And then, like, not only am I going to be in debt forever, future generations of my family will be in debt forever, you know what I mean? So even if I bought them, I could never ride them because I wouldn't own them, you know what I mean? They'd be on a loan and I'd be absolutely petrified to bring them out and enjoy them. You gotta find something that you can afford, that you can ride, and that you can keep on the roads. You know, I really think those are the most important things, and I think that hopefully might help someone who has sent me messages like, you know, I bought this bike and I don't like it. 2 months later, I got this one, I don't like it. You know, what am I doing wrong here? And a lot of the time when you actually talk to these people and dig into it, they have loans on the bikes, and you know, they're just not willing to put too much mileage on it because they need to keep X amount of residual value in there. You know what I mean? And that to me it's kind of a sad thing, because I don't think that's a good way to have your bike. I don't think worrying about the residual value of a vehicle is ever going to lead you to enjoy that vehicle how you should. You know what I mean? Different situations will be right for different people. This is purely my opinion. But I personally don't think I could ever enjoy a bike as much as I enjoy my bikes if I had loans on them. And you know, that's why I genuinely don't care how much mileage I put on this bike, because that's what it's for. Bikes can be fixed, and if they can't be fixed, they can be replaced. However, if you're left paying the bill for the next 5-6 years for a bike that you've, you know, written off, that becomes harder to replace. And that, personally, I think that takes away from the enjoyment, for me. Or theoretically it would for me. I know myself well enough that I will almost certainly never go down that road. So, you know, that's where we are. So yeah, hopefully this was a good video on explaining why I love this bike so much. And again, just a quick recap. It's because it does absolutely everything I could want a bike to do on the road, on a daily basis and for trips and stuff. Yeah, it's never going to win races on the track, and that's fine. And you know, then why I think a lot of people who message me about their bikes and not being able to find the right bike is just because they're not looking at how they're going to use it. And I think use case for anything is so important, you know. And it's why, and I still get messages from angry people about the video I did on the Kawasaki Hybrid. But my whole point about the Kawasaki Hybrid is and still is, who is it for? What is the use case? Now, some people made points about Japan and it being, you know, there being use cases for people in Japan. Fair enough. I've never been to Japan. I don't know the biking culture in Japan. Maybe one day I'll be lucky enough to visit there and learn it. But, you know, for me personally, I don't understand the use case from my point of view and from the point of view of the people that, you know, that I have ridden bikes with and have talked to who own bikes. And, you know, that's, like I said, you got to be able to afford the bike, you got to be able to keep the bike on the road, and you have to be able to ride the bike. A use case is so important. Personally, is what I would recommend to anyone who is looking to buy a bike, is look at your use case and look at the bike you're going to ride. Look at the bike that's going to allow you to learn to be the most comfortable on the road, on the track, on the dirt, wherever you want to take that bike. And that's the one you need to get. And then, you know, when you figure all your stuff out in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, that's when you can pick your, you know, your more expensive kind of forever bikes. I kind of luckily figured out, like, one of the things I love to do is I just like to be on a bike. So it needs to be something I can ride every single day. It needs to be something I can take on trips. It needs to be something I can have a second person on the back of if I want to. So a big ADV bike makes a lot of sense for me. And that's just, you know, are ADVs my favorite style of bike? Absolutely not. Sports bikes are. But it's a heart head thing. Head, thankfully I'm quite good at talking myself down off ledges. But if I was to let my heart rule, I would definitely have, you know, like a ZX-10R or something. I would commute on that. But it wouldn't do everything else as well as this one does. So I might be happier for 10 seconds, but for the 10 years, this is the one. And that's what I would advise everyone to do, is look at the thing that's going to keep you happiest for the longest, and that's what you need to aim for. So yeah, this has been my little soapbox. But you know, people ask me these questions, so it's kind of your fault. If you ever asked those questions over the years, it's your fault. This little dramatic speech is on you. And yeah. Until next time, if you watched, I really appreciate it. Please do leave a comment, leave a like if you like the video. If you're not subscribed and you might want to see more of this or any of the other videos I do, then please subscribe. It does help. And yeah, as always, a massive thank you to all of my patrons. I love you all very much. And if any of you ever need help selecting a bike, I will do the best I can once we talk through what you want to do with it. And yeah, until next time, thank you again for watching. Adios, amigos. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Outro crew. What's the thing? It doesn't even have to be a bike. What's the thing that you thought, you know, you really, really wanted in life? You saved for it, or you took out a loan for it, and then you got it and you realized, I didn't want this at all. This sucks. You know, what was the one thing that jumped out at you and that you really, really regretted? Thankfully, I have crazy anxiety about, you know, about spending money. I always have. I suppose it's because I've never really had a huge amount of it to spare. So I've actually, I don't think I've ever regretted spending a lot of money, except on things I'm kind of forced to spend it on, like, you know, weddings, going to weddings. We won't get into that one, but you know, that's the only thing I've ever regretted spending money on. But nothing that I've ever thought about myself I have. So yeah, let me know. What about you? Do you ever have a big ticket item that you just really regretted? Welcome to Clayton. I actually like this corner. It's kind of nice. It's uphill. Nice houses, nice trees. Can't go too fast in it though, because that's illegal. But yeah, let me know. What is your regret that you spent lots of money on and then you realized was not for you and you wished you'd never bought it? Yeah. Bye, outro crew.